Most people have heard of ping-pong diplomacy. Back in 1971, at the height of the Cold War, table tennis players from China and the U.S. helped break the ice. Judy Horkhorst was just 15 years old, the youngest member of the U.S. team that visited China and met Premier Zhou online. She later became a top champion in her country and has spent a lifetime promoting the sport.
Well, when we found out we had the invitation to go to China, I was very curious and very excited. And I was, I very much wanted to go and see China, even though it was a big unknown. The language is different, the smells are different, the food is different. So everything that I looked at in China was different than my hometown.
Jan Barris, someone who's been part of China-U.S. exchanges from the very beginning. She joined the National Committee on U.S.-China Relations in 1971 and has helped bring hundreds of delegations together over the decades, including the first Chinese ping-pong team to visit the U.S.
We had to make a lot of decisions where we would go, what we wanted to show them. I know there was a concern on the part of the Chinese government as to the safety of their team when they came here. And so, and then there were some of these big questions like, what states do we go to? What cities do we go to? How much time do they need to spend practicing? How much time can we take them to fun things to do?
So what exactly was your job?
I was sort of the jack of all trades. I did a whole lot of everything. Yeah. I looked through catalogs of pictures to decide what pictures were going to go in the souvenir booklet that we had. I was responsible for teaching the chefs in every hotel where we were how to make joe, how to make
Porridge.
Chinese morning. Porridge. I'd say rice porridge. I said, I need to who's the top chef? I need to tell him how to make the porridge. And they looked at me as if I was crazy. What do you mean make the porridge? We can make porridge all the time. I said, no, you don't make porridge like this. They said, yeah, we get the water and the rice and the salt and the butter. And I said, no, you got two of them right. You take 1 part rice and 10 parts water. You put it in a pot and you just leave it until it begins to disintegrate. And they said, well, when do we add the salt? I said, you don't add the salt.
You don't know
when
the
do
salt.
we add this? I said, you don't.
Yeah.
So I helped decide what hotels they were going to stay with. I helped decide where we might take them, because they had to spend a lot of their time practicing and then doing the competition. But we wanted to show them the United States. And we made a very conscious decision that we wanted to show them not just the best. We wanted to show them America with its faults. And that's actually a difference between the way America treated Chinese visitors coming in, at least our organization. I can't say that everybody did this, but we were, from 72 to 79, we and a sister organization, the Committee on Scholarly Communications with the People's Republic of China, we were the only groups that were hosting Chinese delegations that were coming to the United States.
Sports keep evolving, and so do connections. Take flag football. It's fast-growing, especially among women and young people in the United States. Delia Autry, one of the top U.S. players, told me she's excited about its rise and impressed by how strong Chinese players are becoming.
We got to meet the Chinese women's national team last year. It was their first year as a professional women's flag team, and they absolutely blew everybody's minds. It was a shock. They were awesome. They're fast. They're tall. and very smart players, and they had a great tournament last year, and then even went and won their first continental in their first year, which is very impressive. So I'd say we are all pretty impressed with the Chinese national team and the caliber of sport that they're playing already at such a high level in their first year, and I'm excited to see where they go from here.
Did you manage to continue your friendship or interaction with some of them?
Yes, we follow each other on social media, so we get to check in and see how everybody's doing on there. Right. And then a couple times throughout the year, we play in these tournaments and we do see them.
For you, China, how would you describe that to your friends back at home?
If I had to describe China, it'd be two things. I'd say one, the people. So there's a huge focus on humanity. There are a lot of genuinely kind-hearted people here. And then I would say the other side of it is I've seen such a huge passion for sports here. I think that China supports the athletes and they do a great job at making sure they put their all into their sporting event.
For Cameron, 1971, when the ping-pong diplomacy started, is only in distant history. But his own connection to China is personal. He spent 11 years growing up in Shanghai. Today, he's a top American football kicker, known as Dicker the Kicker. First of all, you stayed in China for 11 years before going back home in the US. Tell me about it, where you were and what was it like?
Yeah, so I was born in Hong Kong, lived in Shanghai for a couple years, and then our family moved to Taiwan for I think 2 or 3 years, and my sister was born there. And then basically for like the ages you can remember, I was in Shanghai, and
wow.
It was awesome.
So how's your Chinese going so far?
我会说一点. It's not,
马马虎虎.
yeah, not great, not great. It needs to be better. I need to get back to it.
I know behind this trip that you're making, there are a lot of people supporting this to make it happen. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I think it's huge. I think coming out here, I talked to my mom about coming here. And
Did you?
Yeah, we've done. It was cool to come here and kind of see our family history again. I brought my girlfriend out here, fiance out here, and so was able to kind of show her China. This is her first time coming, and so show her how cool it was growing up here.
Did she like it?
She's been loving it so far. And
Where did you show her? Where you lived before?
So we're going soon, yeah. So we're gonna go to our elementary school that
Which
I went
one
to.
is that?
Shanghai Community International School and then Shanghai American School. So gonna go to both of those. Gonna introduce her to one of my old teachers there. So gonna go surprise him, which is gonna be awesome.
I hope he remembers you as a good student.
I hope so, right? He still messages me today, so I think it was good enough.
So, okay, that's great message. With all the talks earlier, one can tell when people meet and talk, great things can happen. That is clearly what can be learned through the 5 decades of exchanges between the people of China and the United States. That's absolutely what Jan Barris believes with her 5-decade-long commitment to ties between the two peoples.
I think if we could just kick all the government personnel out and let the musicians talk to the musicians and the ping pong players only congregate with the ping pong players and the tennis players, and don't put these restrictions on us. Let us figure it out for ourselves. People often ask me my favorite place in China, and I love Shanghai. Beijing has wonderful museums and wonderful stuff, but my most favorite memory of China was in Yangzhou. And it was in 1976. I had the first congressional staff member delegation came. So we were staying at the Guobingguang, and it was maybe 3 or 4 blocks from Grand Canal. So it was June and July, and we were out walking. It was a lovely evening. And we went and we sat on the slopes of the Grand Canal, and we were maybe 4 or 5 of us. We were just sitting there. And it soon became dark, and there were these beautiful weeping willow trees, which are my favorite trees, along the canal on both sides. The moon was out.
Oh, wow.
And as we were sitting there, and I was looking at the moon reflected in the water in the canal, I began thinking, maybe I'm in a Tang Dynasty poem or something. Wow. And then all of a sudden, walking along the path a young man comes along and starts playing the tizi. And then the flute. And then miraculously, on the other side of the canal, someone else was walking in the opposite direction, and he had a flute. And the two of them began to play with each other. Wow. And I really thought I was in a Tang Dynasty poem. And it was just such an emotional, beautiful scene for me that's when people say, what's your favorite place? I say, the slopes of the Grand Canal in Yangzhou. But also
1976.
1976.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.